Hey everybody, my name is Ed. Okay, another review video. This time we're going to take a look at Slots by Dan Panosian. I hope I'm saying his name right. So I've got issue number one, number number two, number three, number four, number five, and number six. So this is a complete story, uh, beginning, middle, and end. Dan Panosian, he's been around for a while, since at least I guess the early 90s. He's done a lot of work for like Marvel and Image, and he's done like a lot of like, penciling and inky work. Although I will admit I haven't read a lot of the comics that he's worked on before. If I were going to describe the story or the genre, I'd say it's kind of Slots. I'd say it's kind of a lighthearted crime drama thriller con man story, more or less. Basically, we have the main character, Stanley Dance, who has left Vegas, but he's come back to kind of help a friend out of a jam. Basically, there's this woman he used to know. She runs this kind of bar that puts on like burlesque shows, and it's about to go out of business. It's doing well, but the only reason it's doing well is because of one of the main dancers who may be thinking about leaving the bar to go work for someone else. There's another guy who's trying to take over the bar, who we find out Stanley has some bad blood with. And there's also this whole thing where Stanley is kind of estranged from his son, and we get to, there's a whole thing with the two of them, this whole father son thing as well. And basically it's a story about kind of corruption, people trying to out-con each other. Uh, one of the ways Stanley is trying to kind of help out is he's a middle-aged man, but he's going to get back into the whole boxing game. So the boxing is a whole big deal, big part of the story as well. Redemption. So yeah, it's like I said, it's cons, it's corruptions, it's capers, it's redemption, it's stories about men and women, in generations, and friendships and loyalties and betrayals and all that sort of thing. And like I said, it's kind of gritty, but at the same time, it's also it's pretty lighthearted, and I think for the most part it works. A lot of the story is told in flashbacks, and I think for the most part it works. When the story starts, we don't know exactly what's happened in the past. We just know that Stanley had been driven out of town, and he's come back, and he's going to try to make amends. Then we find out things about Stanley's wife, about these other women he's involved with his relationship with the main bad guy. I don't think I'm giving too much away by saying they used to be friends. We find out Stanley actually betrayed him. Some really kind of harsh things happen. We realize Stanley, he's a lovable, likable guy at first, but we find out he's got his skeletons, and he's done some kind of, like I said, harsh stuff, some not so nice guy stuff, some not so charming things. Um, and I think we get to know the other characters' backstories as well. There's, like I said, there's Stanley, there's the bar owner and her daughter, there's Mr. Big, there's like I said, there's the story with Stanley and his son. His son's name is Lucy, and it's not even done as like an LGBT thing. It's actually more, that old Johnny Cash song, "A Boy Named Sue." It's that kind of thing. I named him Lucy, so he'd be tough and you have to fight. And like I said, you really get to learn the backstories, and that adds, layers to the pretty straightforward, simple story. But the story, the flashbacks and whatnot, and people's conversations talking about the past slowly add more and more layers onto the story. Boxing is a big part of this particular story. There's some really brutal scenes of Stanley fighting, Lucy fighting, other boxers and fighters going at it. But I think it's done really well. and it's done in a way that, like I said, it's brutal without turning it into, what I want to say, like superhero action scenes. You buy it in the context that it's meant to be bought, for lack of a better word. You buy it in this context. Like I said, it doesn't look like Captain America fighting Spider-Man. It looks like two men in trunks fighting each other in a ring, and it's brutal on that level. So it really works for me. The art I really like. Panosian has a real kind of scratchy style, but it's also really tight. And I really like that he's able to draw different types of people at different stages of their lives. You've got younger people, you've got older people, you've got grizzled people, you've got beautiful people. And like I said, he pulls it off well in a way that a lot of people who just mainly do superhero art um, don't. I also like these layouts here. Really nice, really interesting. Very, on one hand, very straightforward, but he switches up the panel layouts in ways that make it look interesting. I I like that he's able to draw a variety of different faces and facial expressions. You're never confused about who's who. You're never confused about what's supposed to be going on at any particular time and place. And you're not confused about people's emotions. And oops, I won't show you that. That's giving something away, and things like that. Here's some more examples of some of the art. No, it's a pretty well handled, I thought, flashback scene. You see switches from the kind of colors are really good in this comic too. It's set in Vegas or whatever, so of course you got lots of bright yellows and oranges and reds and flashy things like that. Then when it gets to the flashback scenes, the colors kind of drained out a bit. We're back in the present again. You get that kind of, it's kind of stark but colorful at the same time. It doesn't really have, this is a really weird thing to say. You watch a lot of movies and TV shows that are set in Vegas, uh, and a movie will have all this super ultra bright coloring to it, but this one doesn't feel like that. This feels like when you watch a crime movie, that kind of more desert noir type feel to it. And that's what this comic is. It's desert noir. And here's a little bit more. Here's Stanley, the old dog, who's still got one or two more tricks up his sleeve. Really cool layout of Vegas, or at least Vegas as it's presented in this comic. Somebody's calling in a marker. Stanley meets his old friend. Friend's daughter. The main bad guy. And that's probably it without giving up too much, okay? Okay, so that's pretty much it. Slots by Dan Panosian, straightforward crime drama A lot of humor, a lot of heart. Like I said, it does deal with these themes of friendships, betrayal, family, redemption, and for the most part, I think it works. It really pulls it off. And I guess that's it. Thank you very much for watching. You guys have a good day.